stage 2, we're sending everybody to the far stage, you know. Candidates need to go to the far right.
So can you come round, or is that not really? It's fine. Well, I've been to media candidates anyway, so we see them. Yeah. Can you catch me after? I'll do something.
Well, a very good evening to you from the Utilita Arena here in Birmingham. Now, this is the launch of the Reform UK campaign for the local and mayoral elections on May the 1st. Now, there are just 30 minutes to go until showtime, so I thought I would take the opportunity to show you behind the scenes and also to explain what tonight is all about. First of all, I must apologise that we are running slightly late, and that is because we have enormous queues around the building as people are packing in to see the next government in action. Well, I have to just tell you where we are. So here I am with Dame Andrea Jenkins behind the sound desk. This is where all the guys and girls are actually making all the audio come true. Over here behind me is also the big lighting rig, which will do all sorts of exciting things a little later on. Now, just to put this into some sort of context, this is the largest political conference ever seen in this country since the end of the Second World War. That is pretty amazing. Now, that really should put the willies up the major political parties, because it speaks volumes about the silent majority in this country, people who are sick and tired of being ignored, their wishes being overridden by an authoritarian government, who are out of ideas, out of sanity, and quite frankly, in my opinion, they're running out of time. Now, what is at stake? Well, the local and mayoral elections are a really important part of our journey into government. And make no mistake, that is the ambition of Reform UK. Reform UK will become the next government of the United Kingdom. Now, on May the 1st, 24 councils out of 317 are up for grabs in England. Let me tell you how this works. There are 14 county councils, there are 8 unitary authorities, there is 1 metropolitan district, and there is also the Isles of Scilly, which has its own governance structure. And whilst I'm at it, I do want to say a very big hello to all my friends on the island of Tresco. I have very fond memories of running numerous marathons on that island, round and round and round. Now, let's just talk about the ascendancy. Hello, good evening, everyone. So as you can see, people packing into the venue. Now, let me just tell you about the ascendancy of reform. Look, I've been here since the very beginning, and I have witnessed the extraordinary ascendancy of Reform UK over the last few years. Now, if you remember, just a few months ago, when I hosted our conference, we had 80,000 members. Today, we have just under 220,000 members, which is a meteoric increment. It's a meteoric increment. It's unparalleled in British history. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we are consistently polling at position 1 or position 2 in every single poll. Not bad for a party that is just a few years old. And let me just tell you this. The current government is frightened of us. And they are really frightened. They're so frightened, they have actually postponed elections for 5.5 million people. They have denied them their democratic vote. And they have silenced people. They have silenced those people in East Anglia, in my neck of the woods, in Suffolk, in Norfolk, in Essex, in Thurrock, in Surrey, Hampshire, Sussex, and the Isle of Wight. Now, the question is, why? Well, these are all areas where we believe we would do extremely well. So let me just explain very quickly what local councils do. Well, they are responsible for frontline public services. County councils are responsible for transport, social care, and education. District councils are responsible for planning, housing, leisure, and recycling. And unitary councils perform the tasks of both the county councils and the district councils themselves. Now, the big problem is that turnout for local elections is notoriously low. It's around, say, 30 to 40%, which is extremely low when you compare this to the turnout at the general election, which is around 66%. But here's the thing, and it's a really important point. Local elections are incredibly important, and they really are the building blocks to getting Reform UK into government. Now, here we are. I just want to show you our street scene. Let's go over here, first of all, and let me just show you our bus stop. Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all, just hanging around. So this is part of Broken Britain. So let me just show you a poster here. This is advertising Cirque du Labour. This is a clown in 10 Downing Street. Let me just show you this. The lead act is subject to change. And also in the small print, it says free tickets, transport, food and a luxury hotel experience for everyone who arrives illegally on boats. We have another clown. This is clown Boris in Cirque du Tourille. This is based at Matthew Parker Street, which is the headquarters of the Conservative Party. The venue subject to change. They can no longer afford their own office. And this is what tonight is all about, ladies and gentlemen. Your council is broken and Reform will fix it. Come with me, come with me. I just want to take you round the geography of this venue. So this is our set, and here we are on our road, which is full of potholes. Does that sound familiar? Yes. Pothole, danger potholes ahead, footpath closed, dangerous potholes ahead, and various diversions. Let's go to the pub. Generally. Okay. Here we are at the Royal Oak. This is a very sad scene which is replicated across the United Kingdom, where local pubs, which are the epicenters of community, are closing down. This one is the Royal Oak, and you'll notice the oak tree logos have fallen over, which is clearly the Conservative Party. And this premises is for let. And if you're interested, you can ring that number and you may get a surprise to see who answers. Let's move over here. One of the biggest problems that we are seeing across Britain is the decimation of the high street. It is a real travesty. Loads of shops are closing and they have been replaced by barber shops. How much hair have you got to cut? So this barber shop is Keir's Cuts. He cuts everything apart from your tax. Let's go next door. So apart from the barber shop, we also have Labour Brokes. The betting shop. So, we've now got a bet on. Excuse me, this is the bet. Starmer sack race, so the odds are on for that, whether Starmer is sacked. And here are the odds on the new Prime Minister, Nigel Farage, to be the new Prime Minister. Let's move over. Let's go to the cinema, which is, again, another important venue on the High Street. This cinema is actually showing 4 films. Here's the first one, Monty Python and the Holy Fail. Starring Rishi Sunak, Boris Johnson, Theresa May, Kemi Badenoch and David Cameron. Now, if you don't fancy that, you can go and see this movie, Labour, presenting Despicable MP. So, for those of you who don't know who that is, Mike Amesbury, the MP for Runcorn, believed the most effective communication strategy for liaising with his constituent was to punch him in the face. Let's move to the third of the movies that is playing tonight, Farmer and Starmer. Tax me if you can. And the serious point here is they are going after the farmers. These lot who live in Islington have no idea where the food comes from. They are destroying family farms and they are destroying our food security. Now, maybe you've got young children. Perhaps you want to see Tory Story, which is starring Kemi Badenoch and Robert Jenrick. And they are definitely journeying to extinction and beyond. And finally, this iconic phone box, which I think we see all over the United Kingdom, which has been subject to graffiti, has been left derelict and dejected. We'll talk more about that a little later on. Well, what is extraordinary about this party is to see its meteoric rise. And as I said, I've been there from the beginning with Richard, with Nigel, with some very dedicated people who form the core of that organisation. But we have been so impressed by the level of support and the people coming forward to stand as candidates to say, look, I'm going to stand up and I want to represent my council, my local area, or indeed my country. And I want to introduce you now to one of our new candidates, and I want to introduce you to a young man called Joseph. Good evening.
Good evening. You all right?
So Joseph, tell everyone who you are, what you're doing, why you're standing, and your true passion.
Well, I'm Joseph Boehm. I'm the chairman of the North West Leicestershire branch, and I'm also standing as a candidate in Whittick, which is a place my ancestors have lived for the last 171 years.
Fantastic. And can I just ask you, you are a young man. It's fantastic to see you standing up for your community and wanting to put back into that community. What drives you? Well,
it's a real shame, really, to see the way the mess the Tories have created in my local council. You'd think by now they'd figure out how to sort the potholes, and it should be a given that the potholes are filled in. That's what I think.
Well done, you. Congratulations. Round of applause for him. So brilliant to hear about a young man who runs a local business, committed to supporting small enterprises and driving real change. Now, also, I want to introduce you to a young lady called Natalie Oliver. Now, Natalie has quite an interesting tale, and I'll let her tell you. Good evening.
Good evening.
So tell everyone your name, your story, what you went through, and what you did as a result.
So I am Natalie Oliver. I am standing in the division of Woodall Spa and Rugby in Lincolnshire. Thank you. I am a local business owner and I am a mum of 2. So I look at my children, I look at the state of our great country, and that makes me want to stand up and do something about it. So that is why...
Well done, you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for young people, and you are a very young person, for young people who are thinking about getting involved in politics, I've been around long enough to know it's a very difficult and ugly journey. What advice would you give them?
Look, you know, you are doing this for the right reasons. You will always get flack. It comes with the territory. So you've got to stay strong, know that you're doing the right thing, and put everything into it. Ignore the rest. The only reason they're doing that is because they are concerned and they are panicking about their position.
Well said. Well, congratulations, Natalie. Thank you very much. Now, I mentioned we've had a meteoric rise. We really have. And the highlight for me was all the hard work paying off and getting members of Parliament elected. And it was an extraordinary evening. And I'd now like to introduce you to a friend and a colleague and someone I work very closely with, Richard Tice. And of course, Richard is Deputy Leader and he's the MP for Boston and Skegness. Now,
may I say, your hair is looking marvellous. How much hairspray have you got on, David?
well, I went into your dressing room and nicked yours.
Really?
Yeah.
But you taught me all about it.
I
you
know
told
I
me.
did.
I want to tell everybody, David taught me about hairspray. What to buy, how to apply it.
And did you learn anything?
From you, loads.
So, Richard, I said we go back a long way. We have been on a remarkable journey. When you look here, and we have thousands of people, up to 10,000 people who are coming into this arena, what are your thoughts?
It's truly humbling. It really is. But what a journey. What enthusiasm, what excitement. We're just so proud. So many people putting their head above the parapet, standing for us up and down the country as candidates, wanting to save Britain. That is literally what this is all about.
The journey itself has not been an easy one. We started with a different name. We rebranded into the Reform UK Party. That was not without its own problems. You and I spent a long time talking about, will people remember the name? How do we get the resonance and the traction?
Just remarkable. Sitting in your home, working this all out. Will it, won't it, shall we, shan't we? But, you know, it's all been worthwhile. And I've got this sort of simple expression, which is, and I learnt it from my late uncle, you've got to be in the room to be in the deal. And even if you're stuck in the corner with just 1%, you've got to try. If you don't try, you've got no chance. If you do try, you've got every chance, and that is what we are doing.
Well said, Richard. Thank you for the moment. Richard Tice there, Deputy Leader, and of course a Member of Parliament as well. And loitering by the bins, another MP, James McMurdoch, MP for South Basildon and also East Thurrock. Good evening.
Hi, David. How are you doing? Thanks for popping me by the bins.
You're welcome. You're welcome. What your thoughts? I mean, you came into this rather latterly. I remember seeing you, I think, on the day after the election, actually, and you were kind of wide-eyed, and I think you couldn't quite believe that you'd been elected.
Well, that's it. And I think I can echo a lot of what people are thinking here. You know, my ego is the size of a mouse, but my determination is the size of a mountain. We have such a wonderful country. We have so much to play for. And the trick is, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just have to stop tripping ourselves up. We've got it all to play for. I think we can do it.
James, wise words indeed. Thank you very much. One other thing, James, I have to say, congratulations, because you're a new dad, aren't you?
Yeah, I am indeed. And since you've given me the opportunity, to my wife, you are heaven on earth.
Oh, and look, there's your new baby.
Hazel, I love you with all my heart.
Oh, absolutely adorable. Many congratulations and thank you very much. Right, let's move over to the other side of this stage, past our potholes. And I think you've got the idea now that we're setting the scene, the community. scene. Now, it cannot pass you by that here in Birmingham there is something of a rubbish crisis going on. We're in the third week now of the strike into the bin collections, and I thought someone who might want to talk about that, amongst other things, is Lee Anderson, who is the Chief Whip. He's also the MP for Ashfield. Good evening.
Thank you, David. I'm going to be honest with you. We stood next to all this rubbish here. I don't know what smells worse, the rubbish or the protesters stood outside.
Now, just so people understand your job, Chief Whip, you're the scary one.
Yeah, I'm the man in charge of Richard Tice's hairspray.
And that must be quite a job.
It's a difficult job when you've got James McMurdoch. He's sneaking about all the time trying to pinch a dab of that as well. But no, seriously, David, it's a pleasure. It's an honour. You know, just last year, I became the first Reform UK MP, and since then I got re-elected. And I tell you what, I go to bed each night and think to myself what we've achieved in such a short time, and I feel incredibly proud of what we're doing, and even prouder when I look around at all the People's Army that's here tonight. So thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Lee. Well, thanks, Lee. Now, tonight, I will be unveiling our 6 mayoral candidates. They're going to cover Hull and East Yorkshire, Greater Lincolnshire, North Tyneside, Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, Doncaster, and the west of England. And so these are very important. We will unveil all of those candidates later on. Now, the one thing I would say, and I'm so thrilled to see so many of you here tonight, you never quite know who you are going to stumble across at these events. And I've just spotted the one and only Aaron Banks. Hello, Aaron. Well, for people who don't know who you are, you're a very successful businessman. You're a very generous political donor as well. You were co-founder of Leave EU with Richard Tice, I believe. And you also helped Nigel in his campaign as well. So it begs the question, I wasn't expecting to see you here. So why are you here?
I'd flown in from Cape Town. I was there 6 months. Had a beautiful time. Lovely weather. Utterly gorgeous.
Right.
But I think let's have a look at the screen. Or maybe not.
I've never really cared what anyone thought of me. I always found that speaking your mind said a lot of people. I don't care. I'm Aaron Banks, and I'm the Reform candidate for the West of England Mayor.
Aaron Banks.
Aaron Banks.
Aaron Banks.
Aaron Banks. Businessman and former Conservative donor who later funded UKIP famously to the tune of
£8 million, the single biggest donation in British political history.
I'm a local businessman. I built 3 direct insurance businesses, employed nearly 10,000 local people in the insurance industry. I looked at what the actual incumbent mayor has achieved, and it's almost next to nothing. And he's handed out a few annual bus passes on his birthday, and that's about it. He did manage to put his face on a bus, but from actual achieving it, he's achieved nothing. Bristol is the home of the Greens, but local residents in Bristol are beginning to realise that they just don't even get their bins emptied. Their services are going to pieces, and their local councillors would rather spend money on politically motivated wokery than actually delivering core services. The Conservatives are finished. They've got no chance of winning this race. Rule number 1 in politics, never trust the Conservative Party. And rule number 2 was, don't forget rule number 1. My message to Bristol City is, if you keep voting Labour, you keep voting Green, you get what you deserve. A city in decline. And if I was a young person in the UK today, I believe it's our job to turn that around. And really, it's only Reform that have got the balls to turn this around. So on May the 1st, vote Banksy for Bristol. And if Banksy wants to put a £100,000 picture on the back of my house, he's welcome any day.
we're going to speak a little later on about why you've become involved. Just can you encapsulate your thought process? Why would someone like you, and I understand that you feel very passionate about Bristol, that you want to do something. What made you stand up and be counted?
Look, I backed Brexit Nigel all the way from the very beginning. Not quite the beginning, but almost the beginning. But this is my local area. It's the Greens, it's the Liberals, the Labour. They've wrecked the place. And so it's time to stand up and do something.
And any of us who have run political campaigns know they are not easy. It is very hard work, banging on doors, delivering leaflets, talking to people, convincing people to come over and vote for you. Do you think you are up to the task? Do you have the team that can deliver?
Cheeky bugger.
Well, you know. I mean, it's not easy.
It's not easy, but I mean, look, we look at Bristol. It's run by the Greens. I mean, there's so much ammunition, but I'm really unpopular in Bristol.
Right.
So let's see how we go. But you've got the Greens, you've got Labour, you've got Liberals, Conservative, Reform. It's a five-way battle, and I think we can come through the middle and win it.
So do I. Congratulations, Aaron. We will actually talk a little later on. Thank you very much. Indeed. I just want to ask, is there anyone from East Anglia here? Suffolk? Norfolk? Essex? Where are you? Hooray! Very good. Anyone here from Surrey and Sussex? Thank you very much. I'll go through some of the areas a little later on, but time is pressing. It is almost showtime, and I have just a few minutes to get myself together and to get prepped. Just stay tuned for the Reform UK rally, starting in just 4 minutes' time, here from the Utilita Arena in Birmingham, with thousands of my closest friends. Don't go anywhere.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Utilita Arena in Birmingham for Reform UK's biggest ever live event. Now, please welcome to the stage your host, Dr. David Bull.
Well, hello, Birmingham. Good evening. Now, is there anyone here who cares about the future of the United Kingdom? Is there anyone here who thinks the current government is out of its depth and out of control? Is there anyone here who thinks the Tory party is consigned to history? And is there anyone here who believes that Britain needs reform? Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Reform UK launch of our mayoral and local election campaigns. I'm Dr. David Bull, and once again, it is my great pleasure to be your host tonight. The scale of this event cannot be underestimated. We have had a meteoric rise. Here in Birmingham tonight, we have thousands of people who have packed into this hall because they believe that Britain deserves better. And this event is going to send shockwaves through the political establishment because it is the largest political conference since the Second World War. And it's not just in this arena, we're also joined by an online audience from around the world, including some friends in Washington, D.C., and also in the Oval Office. Say hello, please, to everyone watching online around the world. Now, I've said this before, but make no mistake, we are the fastest growing political party in the United Kingdom and in British history. When I stood before you at that conference, our annual conference in September, we had 80,000 members. And just work this out. In 6 months, we have added another 139,000 members, bringing us to a total membership of just under 220,000 members. But look, there's a reason for that, and that's because this country is in terminal decline. It's because the Labour Party has destroyed the high street. It's crippled employers with record-breaking tax hikes. It's destroyed communities with open border immigration, and it has broken Britain. Now, at the moment, we are riding high in the polls. We are consistently polling in first and second place across the board. The one thing that stands out to me is that we are on the ascendancy as the other parties crash and burn, and we haven't even got started yet. Now, on my Talk TV breakfast show last week, I asked my viewers and my listeners a very simple question, right? And this was the question. I said, who do you think would make a better Prime Minister than Keir Starmer? And with their usual veracity and candour, they answered, Sooty and Sweep and Mr. Blobby. Well, in my opinion, Rachel Reeves is definitely Bungle. And other viewers suggested that Guy Fawkes should have finished what he started. Well, 2 days ago, Rachel Reeves delivered her spring statement. She said she was proud of her achievements. What? Yes, no, she's proud because the economic nosedive isn't her fault. No, it's not her fault at all. She blamed the economic downturn on global factors. Yes, that's right, global factors, not her own ineptitude. She said Labour was elected to bring change. Well, it certainly has. The last 8 months has been characterised by a litany of failures. The OBR has downgraded our economy, and Labour has overseen the economic destruction of this country. That's not just my opinion. The editor of the Sunday Telegraph said, "This must have been the most disingenuous fiscal statement of all time, delivered by one of our worst ever chancellors." Rachel Reeves's speech was an exercise in make-believe, a painful collection of cliches and distortions, a grotesque attempt at pretending that all is well as the economy careers into the abyss. So let's just stand back and remind ourselves of Labour's greatest hits. Labour, in the short few months it has been in power, has removed the winter fuel allowance from 10 million pensioners, consigning many of them to a miserable life. Many of those older people stayed in bed over the winter. They huddled around an electric fire just to keep warm. And let me tell you, 5,000 people die every single year because they cannot afford to turn their heating on. That is unacceptable in a developed country. Labour also cut welfare benefits for the disabled, which is cruel and it is heartless. They hammered farmers with their inheritance tax, which will destroy family farms and damage our food security. They clobbered small businesses with an insane tax on aspiration in the form of employers' national insurance, forcing many to close, decimating the high street, which has already seen huge numbers of shop fronts being boarded up and long-standing high street stalwarts replaced by charity shops. And here's the thing, the rise in employer national insurance contributions takes effect in just 9 days' time. And the impact is real. We already know that 300,000 businesses are now planning to cut staff because of the Labour government. Now, they also repeatedly promised to cut illegal immigration. Since Keir Starmer came to power, 25,000 people have come to this country illegally on small boats. They are also worshipping at the altar of net zero. Let me tell you what they're doing. They've chucked 22 billion quid of your money into untested and untried carbon capture. And they are also plastering thousands of acres of prime agricultural land with solar panels, like in my neck of the woods in Suffolk. They have lumbered the UK with the highest energy prices in the Western world. And I'll tell you what, net zero is estimated to cost the UK £3 trillion. That is more than our entire national debt. It is complete and utter madness. I can just tell you some breaking news. We've just gone over 220,000 members. And it's still climbing. Let's talk about public sector employment. It's ballooned under Labour. It's reached its highest level since 2011. Since lockdown, there has been an increase of, wait for this, 500,000 public sector workers, and yet public sector productivity is 8.5% lower. A whopping 6.1 million people now work for the state, according to the Office for National Statistics. And the government has splurged money on the public sector and, of course, their union chums. And now we hear today that Angela Rayner's own staff have now voted to strike over demands that they actually bother to come into the office 3 days a week. The Housing Secretary is obviously planning to give more power to the unions, and quite frankly, we are a basket case. This is the truth, though. Labour lied. Labour lied its way into power. It lied to farmers. It lied to farmers, disabled people, it lied to students, it lied to pensioners, it lied to small businesses, and it lied to all of us council tax payers. Now, if you remember, Keir Starmer repeatedly promised that council tax would not go up. And yet most households in England will be charged the maximum increase in council tax for the third consecutive year. 88% of upper-tier authorities in England will impose a 4.99% increase in April. That is the most allowed without triggering a local referendum. Let's look at Bradford, run by Labour. They want a 14.99% rise. Let's look at Hampshire. That's a Conservative-run council, 14.99% rise. But the icing on the cake has to go to Windsor and Maidenhead, which is run by the Lib Dems. Who? The Lib Dems. They have asked for a staggering 25% rise. And that is why these elections are so important. It is paramount that Reform UK does well. We all know, everyone knows this, that our local areas are in free fall. Council tax is rocketing, services are being decimated, council officials are paying themselves vast salaries, often in excess of £200,000 per annum, which is more than the Prime Minister, whilst services nosedive. Now, the pathway to government, as I keep saying, is for Reform UK to do exceptionally well in the local elections. And I believe, and I truly believe, the government is frightened of us. They have denied the vote to 5.5 million people in the very places, what a surprise, where Reform UK is predicted to do well. And I'll tell you what, the public is crying out for reform. So we have promised that as we take control of local government, we will carry out root and branch reform. We will ensure that council taxpayers receive value for money. We will fix the potholes, and we will restore the high street. We will protect our libraries and community resources, and we will slash wasteful spending. It's really important because by proving that we are adept, accomplished and competent, we can show the country that we are ready for government. And look, here's the thing. The electorate has nothing to lose, because Einstein's definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So, if you vote for the same political parties and expect change, you will be sadly disappointed, to put it mildly. If you vote for Reform UK, you will get a party that believes in local communities, in family and in country. This is a party that believes in unleashing the vast untapped potential of the United Kingdom. And that is why we are all here today, because we believe in the future of the United Kingdom. Well, to tell us more about why the local elections are so important, to galvanise everyone in this room into action, and to explain the methodology behind the strategy, it's now time to introduce a friend, a colleague, a fantastic member of Parliament. In the short space of time that he's been elected, he has made over 100 spoken contributions in the chamber. Always looking suave and debonair, not a hair out of place, thanks to a lot of L'Oreal products. Please welcome the Deputy Leader of Reform UK, Richard Tice, MP.
Goodness me, what a party. Isn't he a brilliant compere as our David? He's like the modern version of Larry Grayson from the Generation Game. What a party. This is truly incredible. I want to say a big, big hello to all of you. I suppose because I'm a generous chap, I probably ought to say hello to those characters outside. Them out there, that's what you call a protest group, a rabble. We in here, everyone, we are a serious political party. We are not messing around. We're the fastest growing political party, and we have a Baldrick-like cunning plan to win the next general election. But we've got a lot to do before then. But I think we should just think about our competitors. I mean, how many people do we think the Lib Dems could get in an event? 2 rows? Maybe 3? What about the Tories? Maybe they could, do you think they could do 6 rows? Maybe 7? Couple of phone boxes? What else have I been over here? But seriously, what about the Labour Party? I mean, never hear Keir. He'd have his rally in Mauritius as he sells off the Chagos Islands or gives them away. We're the party folks of the future. We've got good news and bad news, and because I'm an optimist, I'm going to start with the bad news. I want you just to use your imagination. This auditorium, this arena, incredible it is, takes about 10,000 people. Imagine half of the auditorium. That's the number of young men who've illegally crossed the English Channel since January the 1st. If you think that's bad, imagine 3 times the size of this auditorium. That's the number of young men who've illegally crossed the Channel since Keir Starmer promised to smash the gangs. It's not working out very well, is it? It's been a difficult week, I have to say. I mean, sitting in the chamber on Wednesday, it's great to be amongst friends after 2 challenging days. Wednesday, listening to Rachel from I don't know where. Is she from complaints? Is she from accounts? What we do know is she's completely delusional. I mean, what she talked about, inferring that everything was all fine and dandy, that's not what people in the business world are telling me. And then she had the temerity to rely on what I call delusional forecasts from the Office of Incompetent Forecasting, otherwise known as the Office for Budget Responsibility. So in just the last 4 months, they've halved their forecast from a ludicrous 2% to 1%, completely forgetting that we've already shrunk by 0.1% in January. But then they seem to think that, then they blame the sort of world events. They then seem to think that peace and love will break out in Christmas, and all of a sudden we'll soar up to 1.8, 1.9%, more than they forecast just a few months ago. Forgetting the fact, folks, that we've already borrowed 20 billion more than they told us we'd be borrowing just 4 months ago. These people are utterly, utterly delusional. And one of the reasons we're not growing is because of our good old friend, net stupid zero. It is the bugbear. You cannot grow an economy with the highest taxes in 70 years, the highest, most wasteful government spending in 70 years, wasteful council spending, and then overlay that with net zero. And we've already seen the destruction that that is doing to our jobs and our industries. And I want to just touch on the steel industry, because we've already seen thousands of job losses down in Port Talbot as they shut the blast furnaces down there. And then on Thursday I had to sit in the chamber and listen to the minister confirm that the Chinese want to close all steel-making operations, shut the blast furnaces at Scunthorpe in Lincolnshire. Absolutely, I want a big boo, boo! Well, I tell you what I told the Minister and what I say to the Labour government, the Chinese might be giving up on British steel, but the British people do not want to give up on British steel. So I said, oh, and by the way, I gave a press conference exactly 5 years ago in Scunthorpe, and I said to the Tories, I said, don't sell British steel to the Chinese. What do? They sold it to the Chinese. We actually should turn this negative into a positive, is what I told the Minister. We've actually got an opportunity to do a good deal for taxpayers. So let's take British steel in Scunthorpe into public ownership. Let's refurbish the blast furnaces that make the primary steel. And let's make sure that the public sector buys British steel. That is a huge opportunity to invest for British industry. It's an opportunity for our defence industry to buy the strongest, highest quality British steel. That's who we are. We stand up for British industry. We stand up for British workers. We stand up for the British people. I mean, you really couldn't make some of this stuff up. The waste, we see it at the national level. You've probably heard my favourite, the old bat shed. The £100 million bat shed of our taxpayers' cash. But when you look at the councils, the waste everywhere, and you'll hear more of that later on. How is it that we seem to be spending ever more council tax, and yet the potholes are repaired less, and the bins are collected less, and if you live here in Birmingham, they're not collected at all? It's a catastrophe. The truth is, the Tories broke Britain, and Labour is in the process of bankrupting Britain. We cannot keep spending more than we're earning, because if you do that at home, you go bust eventually. If you do that at work, eventually you go bust. And folks, if we keep spending more than we're earning as a nation, we will go bust. And the markets responded very badly to Rachel's spring statement. The cost of government borrowing on a 10-year or 30-year basis is the highest it's been for about 15 years. That tells you something. We cannot keep going on like this. The truth is, the absolute clear truth is, timing, the secret of great comedy. I couldn't possibly comment, sir. I'd get in terrible trouble from the woke police. But the truth is that this great country of ours, it's in serious trouble. But the good news, folks, starting with these elections, is that we can turn this around. In the same way that a bad boss can ruin a good business in a couple of years, a good boss can turn it round in 2 to 3 years. So our cunning plan, with your help, with the help of all these brilliant 1,500 or so candidates who are standing, with the mayoral candidates, we are going to win this May the 1st. We're going to win big. We must win big. And when we do that, folks, we can then do a proper job. And if we're lucky enough to actually run whole councils, we can show that we can do a great job, bringing in a fantastic team of experts, root and branch, line by line. A sort of county by county equivalent of a Doge maybe is what is required in this country. And then we've got next May 2026 to look forward to in Wales and Scotland, and extraordinary things are going on. The Welsh over there, I think. Where are the Scots? Are the Scots? Here we are, the Scots. We're doing great there. Incredible things can happen next year, so that we can then prove to the nation that we deserve the right to save Britain in 2028, 2029. It's no one's saying it's easy, but what I want to hear from you as I conclude, I want to hear from you that you believe that we can save Britain. Can we do it? Do you want to grow Britain again? Do you want to make Britain great again? And do you want to make our brilliant, strong leader, Nigel Farage, the next elected Prime Minister of the United Kingdom? Then let's do it. Thank you very much.
Well, here I am at the pub in our street scene. This is a site which I think is all too common, actually, around the United Kingdom. Here we have a pub which used to be a great local boozer, the Royal Oak, which has been shut down and left derelict. This is because business rates are too high. It's too expensive to employ staff. The cost of utilities, of heating it, for example, or cooking, has gone through the roof. And we are seeing so many of these pubs closing down. Now, it won't have passed you by that obviously this is the Royal Oak. And the Conservative, well, what looks like the Conservative tree seems to be a little limp and has fallen over on both sides. Then, of course, we are advertising the circus here, Cirque du Tourisme. Matthew Parker Street, of course, is the headquarters of the Conservative Party. Boris Johnson, the clown there, but the bigger clown, I think, is here. Keir Starmer, 10 Downing Street, Cirque du Labour, the lead act subject to change. And that is the point, because elections are taking place in 24 of England's 317 councils on Thursday, May the 1st. There are 14 county councils, there are 8 unitary authorities, there's 1 metropolitan district, and also the Isles of Scilly, which has its own governance structure. Now, also, we have mayoral elections taking place in Hull, in East Yorkshire, Greater Lincolnshire, North Tyneside, Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, Doncaster and the west of England. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce our candidates. Will you please welcome them, our candidates fighting for Reform UK, fighting for Hull and East Yorkshire, Luke Campbell, MBE. Fighting for Greater Lincolnshire, Dame Andrea Jenkins. Fighting for North Tyneside, John Falkenstein. Fighting for Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, Ryan Coogan. Fighting for Doncaster, Alexander Jones. And fighting for the west of England, the one, the only Aaron Banks. Well, our next speaker is standing to become the Mayor in Greater Lincolnshire. She is a strong, outspoken voice. She's a former Member of Parliament and former Lincolnshire County Councillor. She has strong links to the county, having also studied at the University of Lincoln. Ladies and gentlemen, please will you welcome Dame Andrea Jenkins. Yeah, nothing.
Wow, what a crowd. This is amazing. You are all the true Spartans of politics. And we're united because everyone here, we're all trying to save our country. Reform will save Britain, and Nigel will be Prime Minister. We are at that turning point. People are waking up to the fact that the old two-party system has failed you. Labour and the Conservatives have failed you. The state and the civil servants have failed you. And now it's time for reform. Reform will heal, build and restore Britain. I'm sure you agree. We Brits are sick of soft-touch Britain. We are sick of being back of the queue. And we are sick of seeing illegal migrants getting free hotels. And did you know that a Conservative-run council, even out of taxpayers' money, funds driving lessons for migrants? That actually happened. But now it's time to put the British people at the heart of our policy decisions and in all that we do. The rebuilding starts now. So please get behind every reform candidate who's standing in these elections. We need you, we need your help, we need your support, and we need your vote. And I've got 500,000 leaflets if you want to come to Lincolnshire and help me. Now it's time to stand up, to be brave and to be counted. But to the people of Greater Lincolnshire, I'm here to reassure you that in me you have a fighter. As an MP, I was always outspoken, a disruptor, and I always did what I believed in. I called for Theresa May to resign to fight for Brexit. I was the only MP on the Health Select Committee who opposed the regressive sugar tax. I don't believe in state control. I was one of the first MPs to state that there's only 2 genders. And I'm surprised we've still got to say that. Biology does matter. And I fought to protect our children's innocence about what they was being taught at school. Now, I called out the effects of illegal migration on Britain. And I actually held a debate in Parliament about the true cost of illegal migration. And do you know that only 6 MPs turned up to this debate? So thank God we've got Reform MPs now. And we'll have a lot more, because we will form a majority in the next election. Now, I have pushed back against this nuts zero narrative. Now, instead, I've called for protecting our industries and food and energy security. Now, nearly 2 years ago, I held a petition to leave the European Convention of Human Rights with a compost. I got 50,000 signatures. But do you know something? Still, the government would not listen. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we have Reform, who is listening. Now, in my Common Sense manifesto, I will establish a Lincolnshire Doge, just like they're doing in the US. I want to stop unnecessary roles like diversity officers. I will root out woke waste. And as Nigel pointed out just recently, the Conservative-run Lincolnshire County Council is a whopping £460 million in debt. Now, that interest alone is costing Lincolnshire taxpayers £52,000 per day. And do you know something as well? They spend £200,000 a year on foreign interpreters. And the next one's a whopper, I tell you. £50,000 for a green ambassador. And every Conservative council across the county has raised council tax. But this must stop. I will root out this waste, and I will ensure that every penny of your money goes where it's needed. Now, under my watch, there'll be no taxpayers' bill for bureaucratic blunders. I will establish a transport for Greater Lincolnshire. It'd be better than Sadiq Khan's version, though. Are you like me, not a fan of Sadiq Khan as well? Yeah. And we'll finally get Lincolnshire moving. And I will build homes for our veterans. Because they fought for us, and it's time that we fought for them. Now, Labour just don't get it. Did you hear this week that they're actually got a plan to build homes for migrants? I will have a Lincolnshire First policy that puts Lincolnshire people at the heart of policy decisions. No more being back of the queue. Now, Lincolnshire people should come first, whether it's in housing, social services and public funding. Now, to the people of Greater Lincolnshire, I will fight for you. I will fight for the silent majority who has, quite frankly, had enough. I will fight for common sense. I will fight to protect our children's future. So together, with Nigel and every one of you here, let's save Britain and let's do this. Thank you.
No, Nigel, I'm busy. I'm busy at the moment. Sorry. Let me just tell you, by the way, this is an iconic piece of British furniture, isn't it? I think you will agree. This is a K2 red telephone box. It was actually designed by Sir Giles Gilbert Scott, who was the son of Sir George Gilbert Scott, who was responsible for many of the wonderful masterpieces, the architectural masterpieces in Bristol. Well, that brings me rather nicely to the next mayoral candidate for the West Midlands. It gives me great pleasure to say that I'm going to talk to him now. Ladies and gentlemen, please will you welcome Aaron Banks. amusing. Look, Aaron, it's really good to see you. Lots of people have tuned in who didn't see the pre-show where we had a little chat. Look, for people who don't know who you are, and I find that surprising, quite frankly, you have been around the political world for a very long time. You are a successful businessman. You've been incredibly generous in terms of the donations that you have given. So obviously you care very passionately in the future of this country. So why would you want to get involved on a local level by becoming a mayor of Bristol, which is a beautiful city, by the way, but is not fulfilling its potential?
Well, it's my area. I mean, Bristol is riven with fraud, corruption, all sorts of issues. It's run by the Labour Party, the Greens. We've got the we've got the Liberal Democrats in Bath, and it's an area that's underperforming. You know, it's a beautiful area. It brought the World Concord, the suspension bridge, SS Great Britain, Great Western Railways, fabulous area. But it's lost its way. And I think that this is one of the issues. When Nigel asked me to do it, I was in a cricket match in South Africa, drinking a glass of white wine.
Wasn't just one, was it?
You know, but when the boss phones you and says you've got to do it, you've got to do it, right?
I mean, well, it's a great point, actually. Do you have to do it? Because obviously you could have said no. I mean, I know he's very persuasive, as he was when I stood in the European elections. But is this a challenge you relish, because this is where you can actually put your own prints on this? You can make this happen.
I think this country's in all sorts of trouble. I mean, it really is. I mean, if you look at where we are financially, the Conservatives have run up a debt of £2.8 trillion, another 2.2 trillion in unfunded Ponzi schemes, pension Ponzi schemes. The country's bankrupt, and at a local level as well. We see wastage and we see money being spent on stuff that you just can't even believe. When I started to actually look at the mayor of the west of England, I mean, the guy spent 1.8 million quid on personal PR.
What?
He put it, yes, 1.8 million pounds on personal PR. And when I tried to find him on Twitter, he had 173 followers. So, I mean,
he needs his money back.
He needs his money back, and he needs new advice.
Yes, he does.
But then you delve down into it and you see, well, what was his big idea? And his big idea was he was going to turn the bus service into a green bus service. So he spent 40 million quid with green buses. He then spent 100,000 quid on renaming the green buses from the original name. And then he ran out of money.
Funny that.
He ran out of money, and a good socialist, he then cut the number of bus services by half, having spent all this money on this kind of project. And it goes over and over and over again. I mean, believe it or believe it not, there's an actual programme that they spent £5 million on to investigate how to better get around the region. In other words, I don't know how, but to investigate different ways you could travel around the region. Well, how about putting on decent buses, rail services, things that people want or need? So I've got a very clear plan.
Yes.
And my plan is the 3 local councils we cover, I'm going to audit the hell out of them. And then when I've finished auditing them, I'm going to write to the local taxpayers. I'm going to tell the taxpayers how the council is spending their money. And then what we're going to do as a reform party, we're going to back investment, we're going to back innovation. I mean, Bristol was the home of innovation, with Concord, all these different things. We're going to build big, beautiful, iconic buildings. And then finally, we're going to take the statues out of the river in which they were dumped. We're
well
going to put
done.
them back up. And we're going to be damn proud of our British history. That's what we're going to do.
Okay.
Sorry.
Rapturous applause, Luke. You've got a standing ovation. So, you're a money man.
Yep.
What are the odds?
Well, I'm about as popular in Bristol as a pork pie at a bar mitzvah.
Right, okay. Maybe at the moment.
At the moment. But it's a five-way race.
Yeah.
So you've got Labour, you've got the Greens, they both hate each other. You've got the Liberal Democrats, you've got the bloody Conservatives. I mean, I hate these people. And by the way, when Nigel asked me to stand, he said, look, can you just do me a favour, Aaron? He said, can you stop saying you want to destroy the Conservative Party? And I said, well, what do you want me to say? And there was a like 10-second gap. And he goes, well, can you say you want to replace them? I said, well, I'll stick with the destroy, thank you very much.
Well, look, I think I speak for everyone here when I say we wish you a huge amount of luck.
Thank you, David.
It's going to be fantastic,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you will win. Ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Banks.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I said this right at the beginning of the show. This really is broken Britain. Now, here in Birmingham, it cannot pass you by that we're in the third week of industrial action. If you come through Birmingham, there are piles of rubbish everywhere. All over the streets, there are rats everywhere, vermin-infested streets, and many people in this community are deeply concerned not only about the unsightly look, the smell, but also the profound impacts that these are having. As you can see, this is a scene of a typical Birmingham street, and we are being told that there is an epidemic of vermin here on the streets of Birmingham. So let's just have a look at what we might find in these bins. Oh, hang on a minute. Oh, it's Rachel Reeves's CV. Well, she was never an accountant, was she? Oh, what's this? Oh, it's Lee Anderson's TV licence that has been torn up. Oh, well. And so, as you can see, that is a scene from what is going on here in Birmingham. And actually, this should be a priority for any government, because you have to have clean streets, you have to have safe streets. We know that actually crime is spiralling out of control in streets around the country. Now, of course, this is about local government, but central government has made it even more complicated. There is this chap called Ed Miliband. Have you heard of him? Yeah. Now, Ed Miliband, or as I like to call him, Mad Ed, is obsessed by net zero. He is throwing so much money at net zero. In fact, and I mentioned it earlier, the cost of transitioning to net zero is actually so large that no one actually knows what that number is. And that is the insanity that has affected Ed Miliband. Now, here's a really important point for the local high street, because Ed Miliband's net zero means your local fish and chip shop could be forced to close. And that is according to the trade industry. The reason for that is because Ed Miliband's department can't actually tell us, when we ask them, how much it would cost to actually convert the appliances used to cook fish and chips into electrical appliances. He hasn't a Scooby-Doo. Now, also, if that wasn't bad enough, under the dystopian government that we currently have, officers enforcing Angela Rayner's great idea of Labour's workers' rights, they will now be given the power to enter people's homes, wait for this, seize their goods and their documents and their laptops. They can investigate potential breaches of the law, and essentially the Labour government has given them the same powers as police officers. That cannot be right. There is no doubt we are sleepwalking into a dystopian society where we are not allowed to think freely or speak freely or have conversations that you or I might have in the pub about unfettered immigration, levels of immigration into this country, putting huge pressure on public services, on housing, on GP practices, and we need to talk about it. We have to remain a country which believes passionately in free speech. We need to be able to talk about mass immigration. Well, one man who is never afraid to say what he thinks. He is the Chief Whip of Reform UK. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lee Anderson MP.
You know what? Before I start, I just want to apologise for the people outside who made it very difficult for some of you to get in tonight. And I've got a three-point plan for the people outside. That's get a life, get a job, and get a bloody bath. Last September, I stood at the NEC in front of 4,000 true British patriots who came to hear us speak. And I remember at the time saying to Nigel that this time next year there would be 8,000 people turning up. But just 6 months later, we're back in Birmingham and there's 10,000 people here. Yeah. Backed up by a membership army of 220,000 people. No one can stop us, so thank you for coming here today. We really appreciate it. I've got one thing to say to you. I want my country back. Do you want your country back? Good. But what does that mean? It means... Exactly. I want a country where people can book a same-day GP appointment. They can book a dental appointment. They can feel safe on our streets. They can be confident that our borders are safe. They don't have to worry about paying for the fuel bills. They should not be scared to speak their minds. And finally, I want to live in a country where our kids can go to school and not be told they could be 72 different genders. And be told constantly they may have been born in the wrong body. This nonsense must stop. Some of these teaching unions have got a lot to answer for. We've just learned that the National Education Union is to demand that pupils are taught about the dangers of voting for Reform UK. Yeah. Shocking. These are the same people who say nothing when 6'5" drag queens with feet like barges enter our schools to read stories to 5-year-olds. I do not want conference, our schools to become freak shows. Schools should be a place of learning, and if these unions are intent on poisoning our children's minds, then mark my words. When we're in power, we will root out these Marxist agitators and expose their madness. They are a danger to our children. We know that. Conference over the past 1,000 years, this great country of ours has led the world in science, innovation, technology, medicine, culture, democracy, and we've invented over 50% of the world's inventions. Yeah, it's true. Our beautiful country has truly been a gift to the world. But over the past 1,000 years, our history, our heritage, our culture has been erased by a useless bunch of politicians who are currently squatting in Parliament. Over the past 30 years, successive governments have systematically given large swathes of our country and our society away to people who just do not like what we stand for. These spineless, weak politicians allow people who hate us to rip down statues, cancel our historical heroes, and they continually apologise for our past. And you know what? Anyone who speaks out against this nonsense gets labelled a racist. But have no fear, Reform UK are here. We're going to wreck your country. Look at some of the politicians we've got running our country at the moment. We have a public health minister who thinks it's okay to identify as a llama. You've heard that one, haven't you? We've got Rachel from Accounts. Her CV looks like it was written by Walter Mitty. We've got the unhinged Mad Miliband, who is literally putting up energy prices whilst telling everybody that our bills are coming down. This man could not lie straight in bed. We've got a business secretary who says he was a solicitor. He's never qualified as a solicitor. And don't start me on David Lammy. We're not going there tonight, I'll tell you that. I'll tell you what, guys, in my opinion, this is the most dishonest and incompetent bunch of politicians I've ever encountered in all my life. I'll tell you what, I think it's time we brought back the Jeremy Kyle show, just for one episode. We can get all these Labour MPs on the show to explain how their policies will improve our lives. Can you imagine Jeremy Kyle saying, "Do not go away, because after the break, we've got the results of the lie detector test." I tell you what, that polygraph machine would blow up and Graham would be doing his nutting. Ed Miliband, he keeps banging on about net zero. I'm fed up of hearing him. He thinks it's a good idea to stand in the middle of a field, playing his ukulele and singing about wind energy. Well, let me tell you now, if he was caught doing that in Ashfield, he'd be carted off to the funny farm. True. Then we've got that no-brainer, Angela Rayner. She gets on my nerves. She keeps banging on about Islamophobia. She's even set up a committee that will take 6 months to come up with a legal definition of Islamophobia. Well, conference, I can save her the trouble. There's no such thing as Islamophobia. It's a made-up word by Labour politicians who are scared of losing their safe city seat. It's madness. That useless mayor in London, what's his name? Mayor Khan. He accused me of being Islamophobic, yet there's no government definition of the word. While we're on the subject, Mayor Khan is destroying and ruining people's lives and businesses in London. And I tell you what, why these local elections are so important, we must not let the rest of the country become like this. That's why we need to get out on May the 1st. Here at Reform, we're not bothered about your colour of your skin, your religion, your sexuality. We just want people to live a happy and prosperous life in a safe and tolerant country. What is wrong with that? Rachel from Accounts. I tell you what, I wish she'd got bugger off back to her accounts and all the mess she's making the country. She keeps banging on about this £22 billion black hole and that she wants to grow the economy. But I'm yet to visit one single business that is happy with her budget. Businesses are terrified of what the future holds under this Labour government. But guys, we can't stop them. We must fight back. Reform will fight back. We've already seen that the government over the past few weeks have adopted some of Reform UK's policies because they can sense the anger of the British public who are now turning to Reform UK for common sense policies. Yeah. People are fed up with waiting hours for an ambulance that will probably turn up with a rainbow painted on it. What a load of rubbish that is. People do not want to see police officers dancing the Macarena. People do not want to see NHS workers wearing badges or lanyards that make political statements. They just want the NHS to do their job. I tell you what, if you're thinking of becoming a midwife, then think again, because we've got these so-called academics that have called on the NHS to replace the term midwife with, get this, lead perinatal practitioner. Yeah, and this is to be more inclusive of transgender people. Well, I think we should replace the term academics with out-of-touch morons who need to get a proper job. Communities all over the UK need our help. They are fed up. They're fed up with living in fear, fed up of living in crime-ridden communities where the police don't turn up anymore. But it doesn't have to be like that. But it will continue to be like that if we keep electing spineless, useless politicians. Our town centres are becoming no-go areas. Imagine going into your town centre and there's a gang of unruly-looking blokes drinking beer, swearing and being abusive. You turn round, there's another group making threats of violence and intimidating women. And then you turn around again, you see more undesirables arguing with the police and punching people. Sounds a bit like a Labour Party conference. But seriously, guys, this is happening in every town across our country. And it's stopping decent people from going across their business. But we can stop this. It takes political will and it takes courage. Remember the riots from last summer? Well, they were stopped pretty quickly. People were arrested, charged and put in prison within 10 days. And guess what? The riots stopped. And I know and you know that some of these people should not have been jailed. But my point is, it's true. But my point is, when people realise there are severe consequences to their actions, then they tend to stop. Our councils and police should be working together to put an end to the antisocial behaviour. But the local politicians spend more time bickering amongst themselves rather than doing the job they're supposed to do. Our councillors will always put people before politics and return our streets and neighbourhoods to its people. So, we know that neighbourhoods are being ruined by nuisance neighbours and making people's lives a misery. The police do nothing, the council do nothing, and decent people feel helpless. Just the other week, I received a letter from a distressed resident in London, which read, I'm going to read it out to you. It says, Dear Lee, I know you're not my MP, but I watched your debate in Parliament with great interest on nuisance neighbours. My family and I are suffering from the worst type of neighbour right here in London. It all started last year when a strange-looking man moved in with his family. Since then, this man has made everyone's life a misery. And when we raise this with the authorities, they just do not listen. Even the police take his side. We just feel so desperate and alone as this man wreaks havoc in our community. We've tried speaking to him, but he just tells us more lies and that things will improve. Everyone we know has been affected by his actions. Lee, please, please try and help us put an end to our misery. His address is 10 Downing Street, London. But Conference Reform UK have a huge advantage, and that is the thousands of people we've got out there pounding the streets, delivering leaflets and knocking on doors. We have over 1,500 hard-working council candidates who have put their lives on hold to campaign for us in the May elections. These are the true British heroes. I want to thank each and every one of you, so thank you for that. We have thousands of people who have never been involved in politics in their lives, and they've stepped forward to fight for our great country. Old people, young people from all different backgrounds are now standing shoulder to shoulder in the battle to save our country. And history will remember these people who stepped forward in our hour of need. I started off in politics 10 years ago as a district councillor. I stepped up because I was fed up of seeing my area being let down by useless politicians. And believe me, guys, you can make a massive difference locally once you become a councillor. But it takes courage, dedication, hard work, and this will be delivered by the brilliant candidates backed up by our brilliant volunteers. Not only do our candidates have courage and dedication, but they're also going to bring a wide range of skills which will turn the failing councils around in this great country of ours. I was just going to talk a little bit about illegal migration before I go. 150,000 undocumented young men have entered our country over the past few years, and our weak, pathetic Parliament has done nothing apart from arrange for these illegal migrants to be picked up in the sea, transported to the UK and placed in luxury hotels. They then get free healthcare, legal aid to claim asylum. You could not make this up. We have become the laughingstock of the world. And just like net zero, mass immigration is making us all poorer. We're spending £6 million a day on illegal migrants. Just imagine what Reform UK councils could do with that money. The duty of politicians is to make us all feel safe, better off and spend our money wisely, but they are failing miserably, and it's high time that we kicked all of them out before they trash our country. Conference, this madness needs to stop, and only the People's Army can stop it by making sure we get massive gains on May the 1st. This will be the real first test Reform UK since the general election. And people out there, there's many people out there who want to see us fail, but there are millions of people out there who are desperate for us to succeed. It's true. Our councils need Reform UK councillors that love their country and community. For far too long they've been served by councillors who have no interest other than picking up a wage at the end of the month. Being a councillor is about public service, it's about fighting for your community, it's about putting people first, and it's about making sure that every pound is spent as if it's your own, and our Reform UK candidates will do this. Guys, we have about 5 or 6 weeks left now for May the 1st, and I know many of you in this room will be going out, pounding the streets, delivering leaflets, helping our brilliant candidates. We've got one crack at this, because next year we've got the Welsh and Scottish elections, and then we've got 2029, the general election, where we're going to put Nigel in number 10. But it starts on May the 1st. Thank you, Conference. Thank you.
Well, the dereliction of the High Street is a travesty, and it's happened under successive governments. All of the stalwarts that used to occupy the High Streets have closed. The great department stores, people are not going shopping. It is not safe, as Lee said. Gangs of youths hanging around in our town centres. And have you noticed quite how many barber shops have sprung up around the country. Well, I'm standing outside one. This is, of course, I'll show you here on this board. This is Keir's cut. This is Keir, who cuts everything apart from your tax. And if I turn it round, you can choose a hairstyle. Now, you could choose to look like Lego heads. Rachel Reeves. You could go for an Angela Rayner. You could have a Boris Johnson, who never gets his hair cut. Theresa May is always looking quite sartorially elegant. I think Keir Starmer probably comes here, and Rishi Sunak perfectly coiffured. Let's go to Labour Brooks now and just have a look at what they're advertising. Rayner rookie, Labour to get knocked out, a 3-1 odds on, I would say. And this big bet, the big match, Reform to beat Labour, 2-1 odds on. And of course, not only on our street scene have we got our shops, we've also got our Reform UK bus, which has joined us here in the auditorium. It's essential in our campaigning around the country. I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, this country desperately needs rescuing. It is a sinking ship. It is being captained by a robotic pilot, £22 billion black hole, with no vision, no original ideas and no clue. Fixing the foundations, delivering for working people. The Conservative Party have become in freefall. They have a lazy leader. Apparently she doesn't actually like to have a meeting before 11 o'clock in the morning. She cannot land any punches. I'll tell you what, this country is sick and tired of two-party politics. This country is sick and tired of governance by mediocrity. And what this country is looking out for and crying out for is a passionate, articulate leader with drive, with vision, with determination, with optimism, with energy, with enthusiasm. This country needs hope. This country needs change. This country needs reform. And this country needs this man. Now, let us just remind ourselves of the extraordinary political story that this man has undergone.
I now call the leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage.
We are the new kids on the block. We have no experience in this Parliament whatsoever, even though some of us have tried many times over the years previously to get here. So we can't judge you from working in this place, but we can judge you from the way the outside world sees you.
Believe me, folks, this is just the first step of something that is going to stun all of you. Thank you very much.
Nigel Farage is Reform UK ahead of the Tories for the first time.
The party has rocketed up the polls since Nigel Farage announced that he was taking over as leader.
Re-energise Reform and seem to give them a poll boost.
Hard work is the only way anybody succeeds individually. And hard work is the only way we're going to have a chance as a country to turn any of this around. You know, for a Labour Party that couldn't define what a woman was, couldn't define what a working person was, well, after today I'm pretty convinced they can't define what economic growth is.
We believe that a society looks after its weak, but encourages everybody else to do the very best it can. We don't care about skin colour, we don't care about orientation, we care whether you share the values of this country. We care whether you obey the law, and we'll judge you on who you are. We'll judge you on who you are as a person. Isn't this what everybody wants? Is that what we're going to fight for? Can we make history? Are you going to be part of it? Thank you very, very much indeed. Oh, come on, you'll embarrass me. I'm shy, you know that. Good evening, Birmingham. You might have noticed I just arrived on a JCB. Now, JCB, as we know, make the most amazing machines. They're great in agriculture, they're great in building, they're great clearing landscapes. They are probably the most incredible private company in this country, if not one of the most incredible companies in the world. And we say a huge thank you to Lord Bamford tonight for lending us a JCB. Now, what is it? It's a Pothole Pro. Yeah, and we're going to talk a lot about potholes. This machine can mend potholes at half the cost that currently is being charged by other commercial operators. And aren't potholes just the perfect symbol of broken Britain? So I thought coming in on a JCB with a machine that actually works and that county councils should use if they weren't tied in to 5- and 10-year contracts with inferior providers. But we'll fix that, won't we, when we control those county councils. So yeah, let's fix broken Britain, and let's start by making sure that reform local governments mend the potholes. Now look, this must be the most ambitious launch of any local election campaign in history, nay, probably the most ambitious launch of any even general election campaign in history. And hasn't it been incredible? Incredible. Dr. David Bull leaves me in awe. His timing, his humour, his use of these incredible props around the stage. David, you have been absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. I've never said that to him before, and I probably won't say it again, but he's been brilliant. So let's have a little think about what we've done over the last year, about where we've got to. On March 28th, 2024, Reform UK had 25,000 paid up members. Tonight, we have gone through 220,000 paid up members. We are now without doubt double the size of the Conservative Party and catching the Labour Party up first. And by the end of this year, I want us in membership terms and much else to be the biggest party in this country. That's clear. And this time last year, we didn't have any formal branches. We have managed, since August, when we really kicked off, we've now managed to set up 400 branches around the United Kingdom, all over. And you see, this is very important, because I said on the evening of the 4th of July, general election leading into the 5th at Clacton, where I got elected, having tried just once or twice before. I said I would professionalise the party. And I tell you what, we are vetting our local council candidates to a level that no party has ever done before. We are led in the office by a young staff, all in their middle, late 20s, who are so dedicated and so professional that even when they got the call from me on the 23rd of December to say, sorry, boys and girls, but I'd like you to work on Christmas Day, they all did without hesitation. That is professionalism, that is dedication, that is what we're doing. And we brought some new great people on board. We have a new treasurer who has promised to raise us astonishing sums of money. Stand up, Nick Candy, wherever you are. And I chose a young entrepreneur in his middle, late 30s, who's got tech skills that most of us in this room wouldn't even understand, who's been very successful in business, to come and be the chairman of the party. And let me tell you, Zia has given dedication, hard work, belief, helping me, helping us do what we can do. Zia, as chairman, is an absolute superstar and has a major future in British politics. Where is he? Where is he? He's somewhere. I saw him in the green room. He's somewhere. I also said that I would democratise the party. Well, we've got a new constitution that was approved at the Birmingham conference. And there was much criticism that I own 2/3 of the shares in the company. But I did that when the party was young and small to make sure it didn't get infiltrated and taken over by bad forces. I did it deliberately. But now I know. Now I know this is now a mature grown-up, and the shares that I owned in Reform UK I've given away, and you now own those shares as I promised I'd do. You own it. And we will, once May the 1st is out of the way, hold elections to have our first elected, organised board, professional board, that runs this party. I've kept every promise I made in the run-up to that general election and since, and I hope you have faith in me to believe that when I say something, I mean it and I keep my word. And we know why we're here. We know the values that bind us. And the remarkable thing about Reform is we cross every single segment of the British population. We've got older voters, we've got middle-aged voters, we've got young professionals, but increasingly we're seeing younger voters coming towards us. It could be maybe something to do with TikTok. When I'm met by protesters and I go, boring, 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 and the kids love it. And that's the great thing about a party that believes in meritocracy. We are not in the least bit interested how old you are. We couldn't give a damn what religion you are. We couldn't give a damn what your skin tone or colour is. We don't care about any of these things. We don't care about your gender. We don't care about your sexual preference. In fact, we'd rather not know, to be frank with you. We want to live in a country that treats everybody exactly the same, provided they in return respect us, our values, our laws, and our way of life. So let's make this clear. I didn't come out of retirement last year with a few weeks to go before the general election. And by the way, I didn't need to. Life was going pretty well. Good job at GB News, who I think are a great broadcaster. I turned 60. First 2 grandkids were born. I was going back and forth to America because I've got some friends over there. One of them's quite influential. I didn't come back into this because I needed a career. I don't need a career. I don't need a job. I came back into this because I genuinely believe, and Aaron Banks touched on it earlier. Isn't it great? Aaron Banks, our candidate for West of England Mayor. The Guardian will be choking on their bran flakes tomorrow morning. I can't wait. I think the BBC might struggle a bit too. Oh, and Channel 4 News and many others. No, I came back into this, as Aaron touched on, because I genuinely believe that if we don't arrest the level of economic and societal decline that we are rapidly going into, that within a few years, this country won't even resemble anything that we've grown up with, that we love, and we're happy to share with others. But, however tough, however grim, however difficult, however depressing it may look, this party is full of optimism. This party is full of hope. This party is full of people who believe we can turn this around and get our country back on track with the right leadership, with the right politics, and we're determined to do it. Now, in life, it's quite important to be lucky with your opponents. Napoleon once said, "Don't give me good generals, give me lucky generals." Well, right at the minute, I feel like a lucky general. Because we have a Conservative Party. Well, we used to have a Conservative Party who for 14 years gave us the highest tax burden that had been seen since the war, did not, despite the promise in 2019 of giving us the Brexit that we voted for, never actually believed in it, and whilst we left, they didn't give us what we really wanted. A Conservative Party who told us in the 2010 general election they would reduce net migration to tens of thousands a year, told us in the 2015 general election manifesto they'd reduce net migration to tens of thousands a year, told us in the 2017, I sound like an auctioneer now, don't I? Told us in the 2017, yeah, mind you, if I'm an auctioneer and it's the Conservative Party, I'm not seeing many bids in the room, I got to tell you. Who told us in 2017 they'd reduce net migration to tens of thousands a year, and told us in 2019 they'd use those Brexit freedoms to reduce numbers coming in and to stop unskilled migration happening on the level that it was. And what do we get? Keep it clean, come on. What do we get? We got the greatest betrayal of a massive democratic majority that we've ever seen in our lifetimes. Net migration in 2023 alone is what net migration, not gross, net migration is 1 million people after all of those promises. And I believe the Conservative Party should never, ever be forgiven for that level of betrayal. But it could be that we're even luckier with our Labour opponents. Do you remember the big promises? Vote for us. Energy bills will be reduced by £300 a year. And yet from next week, energy bills would have increased by £300, not reduced, but increased by £300 since Labour came to power. They told us they were on the side of business. Yet, and this is incredible, this is truly incredible, not one of the 25 men and women that serve in this Labour cabinet, not one of them has ever founded a private company. Not one of them has ever worked in business. And the business secretary, Jonathan Reynolds, lied openly by saying he was a solicitor when he never ever qualified. What hope? What hope is there for 5.5 million men and women out there running their own businesses with this mob in charge? What hope is there? They haven't got a clue. And Rachel, well, it was Anderson, of course, that dubbed her Rachel from accounts. But now we learn she wasn't as good as that. She's actually Rachel from complaints. And what was given to us in the Commons this week was an Alice in Wonderland story. Let's be clear. Growth forecasts for this year have been halved without massive government borrowing and without mass migration inflating the population. The way we measure wealth on GDP is false. There is no genuine growth in this country at all. And I asked her a question in the Commons. The only way to measure growth is to measure your GDP per capita. Not to con yourself, because the population's rising by 1 million every year, and GDP per capita has fallen for 6 of the last 8 quarters. This country is getting poorer. Labour have absolutely no clue, no idea how to deal with it. They cannot spread optimism, I mean, goodness me, the front bench look like they're attending a family funeral. And then, of course, we have the issue that did perhaps more than anything to bring down the last Conservative government. And that was the flow of dinghies coming across the English Channel. Now, I'd remind you that I was pretty much on my own in 2020, going out into the Channel, making films, making videos, pretty much on my own. The Sunday Times said, what a sad, lonely, desperate figure I cut. Well, they probably had a point, but I was the one warning people what would happen. I was alone, telling people, unless you arrest this and deal with this, it will lead to an invasion of our country. I was condemned for the use of that word, but now, nearly 150,000 young men later, I have been proved right. And there was nothing the Conservatives could do. The Rwanda plan was doomed to failure because of our membership of a certain court in Strasbourg, which I might mention again in this little conversation. Smash the gangs was never ever going to work, and 2,000 young men have come in the last 8 days. That is unacceptable at every single level. None of them should ever be allowed to stay in our country. End of. End of. It's outrageous. And Labour also faced some other challenges. You'll notice They're now trying to be a bit more careful. They're talking perhaps about cutting a few benefits. So rather than the benefits bill going from 70 billion a year to 100 billion a year in 3 or 4 years' time, it might only go up to 95 billion. I don't call that cuts. I don't call that dealing with it. But the Greens are not going away. There is a young generation of people who have been frankly indoctrinated at university, who think we're all about to fry to a crisp in the next fortnight, and they will go on voting Green. The Liberal Democrats have consolidated their position in much of the country. But the really big threat to Labour comes from the group that called themselves at the last election the Gaza Independents. When I warned over a year ago, when I said that I believed that sectarian politics would come to England, literally nobody believed me. But it happened in the general election. 4 Gaza independents, in many cases fighting deeply unpleasant campaigns, won seats in Parliament from inner city constituencies. And I guess you can add Jeremy Corbyn to that lot and call them 5. Last night, in Redbridge, in East London, in the constituency of Wes Streeting, the Labour vote in a council by-election fell by over 40%. You might... No, wait for it. Where did it go? It went to a Gaza independent. And I believe in the next Parliament there'll be 25 or 30 people elected, and they'll come from the Burnleys, the Blackburns, parts of Leeds, parts of Keighley. This has all been caused by successive Conservative and Labour governments allowing mass immigration, I apologise, without integration. It has been irresponsible, it has been wrong. And I have been one of the few. I've been one of the very few people for the last 20 years. I've warned about this. I've been called all the names under the sun. We have, as I said earlier, no difficulty or problem with those from different countries or cultures or religions, provided if they live here, they live by our rules and our way. So look, I came back out of retirement to do this. I'm not mucking about. I've got one very clear, simple goal, and that is that Reform win the next general election and turn this country round. And a Reform government will leave the European Court of Human Rights. We will get rid of the Human Rights Act, upon which British lefty judges depend. We will, to be clear, and by the way, if you read different on X over the last few weeks, sponsored by Indian bots, I suggest you ignore it. I will reiterate, nobody that comes into our country on the back of a lorry or via a boat will ever be given refugee status, will ever be given leave to remain. Nobody. Nobody. It is unfair. It is wrong. It is also deeply unfair to those who have come here legally, and that's worth thinking about. And let me tell you, everyone that comes illegally will be deported, full stop, end of story. And the same goes for foreign criminals. I am sick to death of Article 8 of the Human Rights Act being allowed for people to stay here who've committed heinous crimes because they have a right to a family life. They've no right to a family life in our country. If they've come here illegally, if they committed crime, they have no right at all. None. Zero. And we will end mass unskilled migration. The 10 million increase in the population over the last 20 years has made our roads impossible. Many who wanted to come tonight didn't make it because the roads were so full. It's made our kids' opportunity of getting housing impossible. And you want to know why you can't get a GP appointment? Because the population has increased by 10 million people. We will end mass unskilled migration into our country, stabilise the population, and we will do that. We will do that. And of course the truth is we now learn that all the arguments, well, Nigel, say what you want, but people coming in all work, they all pay tax, they all contribute. Well, try this for size. Of the last 3 million that were allowed in by the Conservatives, legally allowed in by the Conservatives under Boris and others, of the last 3 million that came in from outside Europe into Britain, only 22% are working, and we are paying for the rest, and we've had enough of it. It's making us poorer, it is unfair, and it will end. It will end. And we will cut taxes. We will cut taxes, especially nobody that earns less than £20,000 a year should pay any income tax whatsoever. Nobody. We are on the side of the worker. We're on the side of working people. We want to incentivise those on benefits to get off benefits and go back to work and not have this nonsense of if you work for more than 16 hours, you lose your benefits. No, £20,000 is the right place to start paying tax, not before. Let's make work pay. Let's be on the side of working people. Let's do it. And we will recognise that there are millions of people of above pensionable age in our country, many of whom have worked for this country, served this country in the armed forces or elsewhere, who, because they've got a small private pension pot, despite the fact it raises very little for the Treasury, have cruelly had their winter fuel allowance taken away. A reform government will give them back their winter fuel allowance. Inheritance tax is frankly wrong at every level. It's wrong at every level. You've paid tax during your lifetime, and now when you die, they want to tax your family and tax you again. It's wrong. And I have to say, the assault that is going on against our farmers and our rural communities is offensive in every way. It is disgusting, it is disgraceful, and we will abolish inheritance tax once and for all. And one more thing that you may need to think about a little bit more. It was announced today. Thank you very much at the back. It's very charming of you. Is that the best you can do? I had some proper protesters the other day in Doncaster. I enjoyed that more than they did. This morning the news was that Lakshmi Mittal, the 7th richest person living in Britain, is leaving. He's leaving. Jeremy Hunt, as Chancellor, Rishi Sunak before him, decided that what we had to do was to make sure that the highest earners, although who had so-called non-dom deals, would be taxed in a different way. Now, actually, you ask a focus group, should people who earn millions of pounds a year pay more tax? People say yes, but here's the problem. 10,000 millionaires left last year. And almost unbelievably, UBS Bank this morning estimate that 500,000 wealthy people, British people, will leave the UK before 2028. This is a disaster. This means our tax revenues will fall off a cliff. We cannot help those on benefits. We cannot help those on lower incomes. We cannot help those that need to access public services if we get rid of those that pay the most tax because they leave and go to Monaco, Dubai, America, or wherever else it is. We need to be grown up. We need to encourage people who've got money to come and live here and pay tax and subsidise our public services. Let's think about this. Let's use our brains. Of course, the media will say, how will you pay for this? Well, I tell you what, we need some pretty big cuts in the administrative state in this country, which has grown out of all proportion. Another 100,000 civil servants in the last few years, and they work from home 2 or 3 days a week. Well, I tell you what, with us, there'll be no more work from home. No more come to the office or you're fired. You're gone. And we want to stand up for those 5.5 million men and women running their own small businesses. We want to teach kids in school that hard work is necessary and important. And frankly, folks, what we need in this country to pay for the cuts that people deserve and need, we need a British form of Doge, as Elon Musk has got in America. Let's have a British Doge. Let's do it. And we will scrap the net zero lunacy that is destroying manufacturing jobs in our country. It's madness. British Steel today, as Richard Tice and I predicted, this country will no longer produce primary steel. We'll be the only major economy in the world not to produce primary steel. We don't produce the gas we need. We don't produce the oil we need. We, in reform, will produce our own energy, manufacture our own steel, give consumers cheaper prices. We will re-industrialise Britain. Get people back into good working jobs. And we will. So last week, lad gets in touch with me last week. He was 17.
He said, look, I'm standing to be head boy in the school. Would you give me a video endorsement? I thought, I love the cheek of the guy. It's pretty cool, isn't it, really? In fact, I often get asked for this sort of thing, and there was a girl a few years ago that asked me for a similar message, and she now works for us in Parliament. So I give a big endorsement to this guy. Turns out that the academy school that he's at, a few days later, the teacher in charge of the school elections for head boy disqualified him as a candidate. And every week, I meet young people at school who tell me what the teachers have said about reform or me. And then I heard 2 weeks ago something that confirmed all my worst fears. The National Education Union, the biggest teaching union in Britain, led by a Marxist who says that Britain is an inherently racist and bad country. And they want teachers to indoctrinate our kids about how awful we are. They want our kids to be ashamed of everything that was done by our grandparents, our great-grandparents, and those that went before in 2 world wars and much else. And we, unlike the Conservative government or the Labour government, we have the conviction, the love of country, the courage to stand up and say, we are proud of our country. We are proud of its history. We will stand up and defend that to anybody. And we will. We will. We will go to war with the teaching unions that are poisoning the minds of our kids. We won't have it. We won't have it. So these are all the things that we want to do. But first we have to clear the hurdle of the 1st of May. Now look, I'm furious that 5.5 million people have had their vote denied as a result of collusion between the Labour and Conservative parties. Particularly unhappy in Essex, where we have 2 MPs and we would have won the council. But there's no point moaning, because in life you have to deal with the hand of cards that you have been dealt. Last year, Reform contested 12% of the seats that were up in that set of council elections last year. This year, we will fight every single council seat all over England that is up. We will fight the 6 mayoral contests, and you've seen the candidates on stage. And Parliament has its first by-election. The Runcorn and Helsby by-election will be held on the 1st of May, after, as David Bull said earlier, the Member of Parliament for that constituency decided the best way to engage a constituent at 2 a.m. was to punch him once when he stood up and 5 times on the ground. Well, we've chosen a lawmaker, not a lawbreaker, and Sarah Pochin, magistrate, successful businesswoman, successful local politician, I'm proud that she is our candidate in that by-election. Very proud. And it's Labour's 16th safest seat in the country. A journo said to me at the launch on Monday, well, this must be a must-win by-election for Reform. I said, no. I said, it's a must-win by-election for Keir Starmer. And I tell you what, I can't predict now today whether we're going to win. But I tell you what we'll do, we'll run them down close. And if we do win, it will be an earthquake, and I'll be there, and I want you to come and help her if you live in that area, please. And just as we know that Britain is broken at so many levels, be in no doubt that local government is broken. Do you know there are 3,000 council staff in Britain earning over £100,000 a year? Now you might say that's okay if they're doing a good job, but are they doing a good job? Just think about this.
Lincolnshire County Council is in debt to the tune of £460 million. But here's the kicker. The daily interest on that debt, daily, being funded by council taxpayers, it's £52,000 a day. Kent County Council's in debt to the tune of £740 million. £84,000 a day interest on that debt. I mean, I think when voters in Kent see this, they'll realise the Conservatives have not served them well. Cambridgeshire, their daily interest repayment is £89,000. But top of the pops is not a county council, it's one of the new unitaries that Angela Rayner wants to make sure that we all have. Yes, Cornwall went unitary years ago, and just that little county of Cornwall now has a daily interest bill of £147,000. It is totally and utterly beyond belief, but we're going to tell people the truth. And what about potholes? I bet every one of you in this room that drives has had a punctured tyre through potholes, and you're pretty cheesed off about it. And many, of course, self-employed people, van drivers, would lose income and money. It's costing us billions of pounds a year. I mean, in Nottinghamshire alone, there are 62,288 potholes. That's, 22 potholes every single mile. In Cambridgeshire, there are 64,000 potholes, 22 per mile. But no one gets close. No one gets close to County Durham. If you want to smash your tyres up, go to... Who's here from County Durham? How's your car tyres these days? I bet they're not too good. Because County Durham has 65,000 potholes, 27 potholes for every single mile. This, and I know there are problems. I know central government gives the counties and unitaries less money. I know that social care is a growing problem. But what all these numbers tell me on debt and on potholes is that, frankly, these councils have been asleep at the wheel. They've broken their counties, and reform is going to come in, and we are going to fix it. We are going to fix it. And the money, the money they're wasting. Kent County Council spent 330,000 quid on a cycle to work scheme for their own staff. Cambridgeshire County Council went nearly 600,000 over budget building a waste recycling centre. Lancashire, oh, I love this one. Lancashire County Council spent £520,000 on a 4-year contract for ergonomic chairs for their own staff. Anyone know what an ergonomic chair is? I'm not sure that I do. Oh, you'll love this. Oh, you'll love this if you're from the West Midlands. Staffordshire County Council spent 18,000 quid on driving lessons for asylum seekers. I mean, I knew they got hotels, pocket money, dental care. They even get driving lessons in Staffordshire. And on it goes. Durham Council will spend 120 million in the next 5 years to achieve their net zero goals. Oh, no, they won't, because we're going to win Durham Council and cancel those contracts. And you realise the impact of what's happening when you see that Doncaster has had to spend 300 grand on translation and interpretation in the space of just 3 years. You think that's bad? Nottinghamshire County Council has spent £550,000 on translation in just 3 years. Lee, your county, almost unbelievable. And of course the green stuff just takes them all over, doesn't it? The city of Doncaster, where Red Ed is one of the local MPs, aren't they lucky? They spent 20 million quid on bicycle lanes with no increase in cycling capacity whatsoever. Devon County Council spent £250,000 on equality and diversity campaigns in the last 2 years. Well, I guess on Dartmoor, equality and diversity is really rather important. Shropshire spent £1,000 a day on a pothole consultant, yet has some of the worst pothole numbers in the country. Well, just come and see us and we can give you an answer. Because that's what we're trying to do. And the list goes on and on and on. We are fighting that election on May the 1st. I have been dedicated to it since the 5th of July. This is our first big hurdle. And we have to clear that hurdle. And clear that hurdle well. Just as we have to clear hurdles in the Welsh and Scottish Parliament elections next year and parliamentary by-elections that come. Nobody is pretending that any of this is easy. It isn't. We are taking on the vested interests. We are taking on the establishment. What we've done already is truly historic. But I believe our potential as the voice of the silent, ignored, put upon, and frequently insulted silent majority of this country. I believe that we are their voice, and I believe that we can make history in a way that perhaps has never, ever been seen before. When we win these county councils, we'll send in the auditors, we'll get rid of the fraudulent contracts, we'll cut spending, we'll do our utmost to fulfil all of our promises. And if we do those things, it will take us on. It will take us on to a general election which will come in 28 or 29, where we genuinely will try to make a piece of political history the likes of which has never been seen before. There are some who think that maybe I'm ridiculously ambitious, but I believe we can do this. Do you believe we can do this? Will you support this campaign leading up to May the 1st to help us clear this first major hurdle? Will you support our local candidates? Will you go out and campaign, knock on doors, deliver leaflets? Will you stand up if you believe what we're trying to do? Candidates particularly. These are our candidates. These are our people, all of you. We can do this. We are going to do this. We are going to make history, and each one of you is a part of it. Thank you very much indeed.
I know, tell me about it.
and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Travel home safely. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Brilliant.